The nights we never slept were the ones that spoke loudest to my heart. The palace was quiet, but my soul was restless, wandering through hallways of memory and possibility. I'd watch the moon trace shadows on the ancient stone, wondering if your window held the same silver glow. Love for me has always been something both within reach and impossibly far, like a rose behind glass, beautiful and untouchable. In those hours past midnight, I wasn't a crown or a future sovereign. I was a girl, a voice behind heavy curtains, whispering your name into silence. My thoughts unfolded like letters never sent. I remembered every smile you gave me, every glance that lingered, and I held them close, as if doing so might stop time. But time, like duty, marches forward. The throne does not wait for longing, nor does it bend to affection. Still, my heart rebelled in those sleepless hours, refusing to forget. I was taught to lead, not to yearn, but love taught me to feel first, before I could ever rule. They never saw me when I turned from the window and pressed my palms to my chest, trying to quiet the echo of a heartbeat, not entirely my own. You lived in that beat, in the pause between breaths. I imagined a world where no one looked upon me as a symbol, but instead saw the girl underneath the name. You saw her. That's what made you different. You saw Leonor, not just the future Queen of Spain. In your gaze, I could lower my walls, shed centuries of tradition and be held, not by arms but by understanding. That kind of love is rare in palaces, rarer still in the halls of legacy. I walked through gilded rooms with your voice still singing in my ears, your laughter trapped beneath my ribs. But with every step, I knew I walked away from you. Not by choice, but by design. We are shaped by history, and sometimes history does not care for the softness of hearts. It demands sacrifices dressed in silk and silence. They think love is a luxury for someone like me. But love, true love is not a luxury, it's a need as vital as breath. And the nights we never slept together were not sleepless from desire alone, but from the ache of all we couldn't say. I whispered my love into the seams of my pillow, knowing it would never reach your ears. I wrote it in ink I'd never show, in letters I'd never send. My fingers learned the outline of your absence. I heard music in your memory, verses in your quiet. You see, people assume royalty is armored in gold, but our true armor is restraint. I wore it every day, smiled through every wave, sat with posture perfect, while my spirit twisted in longing. No one teaches you how to rule and ache at the same time. They train you to carry a nation, not to carry heartbreak, but I carried you. Still do. Even now, as I speak into the stillness, your name dances at the tip of my tongue. Sometimes I wonder what might have happened if I weren't me, if I could have met you on a street, without an escort, without photographers or protocol, if we could have sat on a bench and shared secrets like other teenagers. Maybe we could have had our own story, one not bound by royal script. Instead, we wrote our story between silences, across rooms full of watching eyes. We mastered the language of glances, learned to smile with restraint. I counted moments with you like sacred beads, each one held close, never spoken of, love behind glass, visible, untouchable. I memorized the way you looked at me when no one was watching. That look was my cathedral. You were my rebellion. But rebellions fade in the light of duty, and the crown does not wait for girls with hearts full of stars. It waits for queens. And I am becoming one. But sometimes I wonder, must I shed all my softness to be strong? When I stand before my people, draped in tradition and promise, I carry more than my own name. I carry a dynasty. Yet in the quiet of those unslept nights, I felt something else, the weight of your absence pressing gently on my collarbone. I thought of how you would laugh at my stiffness, tell me to breathe, to live. You were lightness, and I was legacy. Perhaps that's why we never fit where it mattered. But in dreams we did. In dreams you took my hand, and we ran, not from duty, but towards something of our own. The dream always ends with morning, and I wake up to the sound of clocks, not kisses, but for a few precious hours we were real. No one saw us, no one judged. It was just you and me, speaking in touches, promising in silence. Those nights taught me that love can survive unspoken. It can breathe beneath rules, but it must be tended even in secret gardens of the soul. You once told me I looked like freedom when I laughed. I remember that. It stayed with me, not just because it was beautiful, but because I had never felt free. Not truly. I am shaped by tradition, by bloodlines and expectations written long before I was born. Yet when you said that, I believed it. If only for a moment, you gave me a vision of myself outside the palace walls, and for that, I'll always be grateful. Some might say that love like ours was doomed from the start. Maybe they're right, but doomed does not mean worthless. Some of the greatest love stories end in echoes, not weddings. I don't need a crown to validate the truth of what I felt. I don't need approval to remember how your hand lingered a second too long. That love ours was a defiance, quiet and unyielding, and in a world where everything about me is planned, rehearsed, and decided, that one wild, genuine thing was enough. Now as I prepare to embrace my future, I carry your shadow beside me, not as a burden, but as a reminder. You were the chapter that made me believe I could love and lead. You taught me that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a kind of courage. The nights we never slept are engraved in my spirit. In those hours I was truly myself. No protocol, no rehearsal, just breath and feeling. The world will never read the pages we wrote in secret. They'll never know the way you said my name, like it was a question you hoped I'd answer. But I will. I'll remember, and I'll rule with that memory stitched into the hem of my gowns, into the timbre of my speeches, into the silence between royal decrees. Because love, true love, never really ends. It just changes form. And mine became resolve, strength shaped by tenderness, a queen shaped by the girl who once stayed awake, whispering a name no one was supposed to hear. Somewhere in the distance, a bell tolls, morning approaches, another day where I wear the title instead of the heart. But before the sun fully rises, I give myself one last luxury, the memory of your arms around me, though they never were. The idea of you, the possibility, that is what I mourn, not the loss of a person, but the loss of a life we might have had. And in that mourning, there is strange beauty, for even if I cannot live it, I have imagined it, and that imagining has saved me more times than I can count. It taught me to cherish even shadows, to dance, even alone, to lead with empathy. Because I have loved, because I have lost, my reign when it comes will not be forged in cold tradition alone. It will carry warmth. It will carry you, not in name but in essence, in the way I see people, in the way I listen, in the way I still believe. They say monarchs should not be poets, but sometimes I think poetry is the only truth we're allowed. Between duty and ceremony, there's a heart that beats not for the anthem, but for the memory of one person who made it all feel real. My crown will not dim my humanity. I refuse to let it. You taught me that love is worth the risk, even if only in silence, and though you are no longer by my side, I still carry the sound of your laughter like a lullaby. The night is nearly over, the stars are fading, but I am still awake, still remembering. This is how I keep you alive, not in secret, but in sacredness. You were my rebellion, you were my peace, and now you are my strength. I may never be free to love the way I wish, but I am free to feel, and in that feeling, I am more than a future queen. I am wholly eternally myself.